My name is Eliah ben David, and I died. I died in Israel, on sacred ground soaked in silence and blood. But what followed death was not decay. It was disclosure, revelation, the summons, and a voice that called my name in the dark. I do not share this easily. I do not speak these words from pride. I speak them from obedience, because I made a vow with trembling lips and a burning soul. If I returned, I would speak. If he gave me breath again, I would not waste it on silence. So now I speak. I met him. Not in theory, not in parable, but face to face, spirit to spirit, and in his eyes I saw time collapse. Past, present, and the terror of what lies ahead. He showed me what is coming. And I tell you now, it is not far. It is not symbolic. It is not avoidable. It is coming. The veil between what we know and what we deny is growing thin, and when it tears, only the sealed will stand. Only those with truth stitched into their bones will not be devoured by the flood. This is not for the faint of heart. This revelation, this burden, is a fire that scorched my soul before it ever touched my lips. I saw what 2025 holds. I saw what will become of us if we continue sleeping, numbing ourselves with comfort, praying with dry hearts, and walking in circles while the clock burns down. He called my name in the dark. He showed me the trembling future, and he sent me back. You who are watching, this message is not for entertainment. It is a warning sealed in fire. It is the cry of one who has crossed over and come back with blood on his spirit and lightning in his mouth. What I was shown changed everything. The lines are drawn. The time is now. You were chosen. I was shown the end before it began. And this is only the beginning. Before the fire there was silence. Before the vision there was dust. Before I died I was just a man. A soldier beneath the burning skies of Israel, following orders, watching borders, counting the hours like a man counts his own fading breath. My name is Eliah ben David, and before the heavens opened, I was stationed near the northern ridges of Galilee. Dry land, dry mouth, dry prayers. Morning came like it always did, with the grind of boots on sand, the call of superiors echoing through open sky, the metallic scent of sun-baked rifles, and the hum of discipline drilled so deep it replaced thought. We woke early. We slept in fragments. We walked our routes with hollow focus, not from fear but from fatigue. The kind of fatigue that isn't just of the body, but of the soul. I'd stare into the hills and wonder, why does peace feel like tension? Why does silence scream louder than bombs? Why does this land, sacred and ancient, feel like it's holding its breath? He called my name in the dark, but long before I heard it, I felt it. The weight, the waiting, the invisible hand, pressing against the corners of my existence. Something was off. In the air, in the earth, in me. At night I couldn't sleep. The wind would move across the tents like it carried messages I wasn't ready to hear. Sometimes I'd wake with tears I couldn't explain. Other times I'd stare at my hands and feel like they didn't belong to me anymore. There was a heaviness on everything. Even the laughter of my brothers in arms sounded forced. We talked in code, not just military, but emotional. None of us wanted to say it, but we all felt it. The world was shifting beneath our feet, and we were standing on the fault line. I remember one morning. The sun had barely risen. The desert was still wrapped in a veil of cool breath, and I looked out over the valley and felt an ache so deep it split me open. Not pain, not fear, but yearning, like something ancient in me was waking up. Something I had buried beneath orders, beneath training, beneath survival. I didn't know then, but I was already being called. My soul was being summoned to a place beyond this earth, beyond this assignment, beyond this uniform. He called my name in the dark, and though I didn't hear it with my ears, I felt it in the marrow of my bones. A pulling, a parting, a preparation. Looking back now, I see it clearly. The mundane wasn't mundane. It was sacred groundwork. The dust on my boots, the sweat on my back, the silence of the hills. They were all whispers, signals, holy echoes waiting for me to notice. But I didn't notice. Not then. I still moved like a soldier, still obeyed commands, still counted bullets, not blessings, still wrote letters home I never sent, still prayed without expecting an answer. I was faithful, but I wasn't alive. I was breathing, but I wasn't burning. And yet, He was watching. He was waiting. And when the moment came, when the breath left my lungs and the veil lifted, I would remember all of it. Every dust-laced morning, every aching silence, every unspoken prayer. Because nothing in this life is wasted. Not even numbness. Not even routine. The soul was stirring. The heavens were bending low. And I, a man half asleep, was about to walk straight into the fire. Something was off. In the air. In my soul. And the storm was already on its way. It happened on a Thursday. The kind of day that begins like every other. Uneventful. Sun bright. Familiar. The desert sang its dry song. And the dust followed us like a second skin. We were deployed to monitor movement near the outer rim, where tensions always stirred beneath the soil. I remember tying my boot a second time, feeling it come loose the first few steps into the patrol. A small detail, meaningless then, but now it burns in my memory like a final thread being tightened. I adjusted my rifle, took my place in the line, walked forward into what looked like routine. But heaven was already holding its breath. There was no warning, just a flash, too quick for thought, too violent for sound. And then, silence. I remember the sound of my own heartbeat, thunderous and alone, echoing against the hollow of my chest. And then I felt it, the sharp rupture through my side. Not like a cut, but like a door swinging open from within me. Time broke, did not slow, shattered. My ears caught 1,000 fragments of sound at once. The crack of gunfire, the thud of bodies, the scream that might have been mine or someone else's. And then, the world dimmed, not like sleep, but like dusk swallowing the sun before it was ready. He called my name in the dark. I fell, but I didn't hit the ground. Or rather, my body did. But I did not. I hovered, weightless, watching, suspended between the now and the not yet. And there I was, crumbled in the sand, a red bloom spreading from my uniform, eyes half open, staring into nothing. I didn't feel panic or sorrow. I felt release, a soft loosening, a holy unraveling. The pain did not follow me, only a strange, enveloping calm, like I had finally stopped resisting something ancient and inevitable. And then, I began to rise, not upward, but inward, as though my soul was being pulled by memory itself, towards something it once knew but had forgotten. Above me the battlefield blurred. Dust, blood, fire, all dimmed, as if reality had been covered with a veil of water and light. I watched soldiers run, heard faint shouting, saw hands reach for me, but they were reaching for what I had already left. I was no longer in their world. The body below. It was mine, but it no longer held me. It was a shell, an address I had moved out of, and as I drifted higher, I felt no fear, only a question forming, wordless and weightless. Where am I going? The sky above me was not sky at all. It pulsed, like breath, like music without sound. And in the center of it, a light, not blinding, not distant. It was alive, and it was calling me. He called my name in the dark. The light didn't speak in words. It summoned, remembered me. It wrapped around the edges of my soul, like a voice I had forgotten but always longed for. I began to move toward it, but I wasn't flying. I wasn't walking. I was being drawn, pulled as if by the gravity of truth itself. There was no resistance, no turning back, only surrender. And in that surrender, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Clarity. Everything I had believed, doubted, ignored, avoided, it all became weightless. Only one thing mattered now, the one who was calling me. I felt the layers of my life peel away, like bark from a tree in flame. My name, my role, my medals, my regrets, all left behind like shadows that could not follow me into light. He called my name in the dark, and I was going home, not to a place, but to a presence. The air thickened around me, not with pressure but with meaning. Every moment I had ever lived was unfolding in silence behind me. The earth grew small. The war receded. The wound meant nothing now. I was dead, but I had never been more alive. And just beyond the veil, something holy waited, something ancient, something terrifying in its beauty. I crossed the threshold, and the fire began. I crossed the threshold, and the fire began. But it was not a fire that burned, it was a fire that healed. A living flame that did not consume but revealed. It moved through me like memory wrapped in light. like truth spoken in the native tongue of the soul. And suddenly I was not falling. I was being carried, not by wings or wind, but by something deeper, recognition. The realm itself remembered me. I passed through a tunnel, but it was not narrow or dark. It was infinite, luminous, alive. It pulsed with color I cannot name, light that sang, waves of sound that felt like a mother's touch, a father's approval, a friend's embrace, all woven into music that did not need ears to be heard. The tunnel was not just a passage, it was a sanctification. Every moment I drifted forward, something fell away. Fear, pride, pretense. Every mask I had ever worn slid silently from my soul and was left behind in the ash of the world. He called my name in the dark, and now the dark had turned to gold. And then, I was there, not somewhere, but in presence. The air was holy. I do not say that lightly. It was sacred in a way that cannot be explained. It did not shimmer. It did not glow. It sang. The very fabric of where I stood, if you can call it standing, was alive with soundless harmony. The ground beneath me was not ground. It was knowing. It was the memory of every foot that had ever walked in righteousness. It was the cry of the martyrs, the prayers of the forgotten, the fragrance of obedience. I was not alone. They were there. Souls. Not ghosts. Not shadows. But presences, pure, blazing, radiant. Some looked like light sculpted into form. Others shimmered like echoes of faces I once knew, long gone from this earth, but never erased from the eternal book. I recognized none of them, and yet I knew them all. We were not strangers. We were fragments of the same breath, cut from the same fire, woven from the same name. No one spoke, yet everything was understood. I saw a child walk past me, but not as a child of age, as a child of light. Their laughter rang through the air like bells melted into honey, and in that sound I remembered something I had forgotten since I was born. Joy unchained by pain, love unmarred by fear. He called my name in the dark, and now I stood in the country of his voice. There were colors I had never seen, not with the eyes of the body, but with the eyes of the soul. Violets that shimmered like promise, gold that moved like mercy, whites so pure they hummed with wisdom. And everything was alive. The sky breathed, the grass whispered, the air trembled with waiting. This place, it did not welcome me. It knew me. It had always known me, as though I had simply returned to the page in the story where I had left off, and eternity had been patiently keeping my place. But even as the beauty wrapped itself around me, even as peace flowed into every corner of my being, there was a deeper pull, a weight behind the wonder, an ache behind the awe, because something was approaching, something holy, something unbearable and tender and vast. A meeting, a reckoning, a reunion. I could feel it, the approach of a presence so real, so ancient, that even the light seemed to bow before it. The souls around me parted, not in fear, not in duty, but in reverence, because someone was coming, and I was being called forward. My identity no longer mattered. My name, my nation, my history, they dissolved into a single truth. I belonged to him, and I was about to remember what that truly meant. He called my name in the dark, and I was finally stepping into the voice that had made me, not just to behold, but to be undone, to be remade, to be given the message no man asks for, but every soul must one day hear. Return to the fire, return to the fire, return to the fire. He was there, not arriving, not entering. He had always been there, even when I couldn't see him, even when I cursed the silence, even when I numbed myself to survive. He was there, and now I saw him, not with eyes of flesh, but with the eyes of recognition, of spirit, of home. He didn't walk toward me. He became the space around me. Presence poured into presence, until all that remained was him. And I was swallowed, not in terror, but in love too vast to survive without breaking. He called my name in the dark, and now I stood inside the voice that called me. I cannot describe his face, not because it was hidden, but because it was truth. Radiant, wounded, infinite truth. His eyes, they did not look at me. They looked through me. They peeled me open like a holy scroll, and read every line I had ever written in secret. The shame, the pride, the jealousy I baptized as justice, the prayers I whispered with lips but not with heart. He saw it all. He was the seeing. But there was no condemnation in him. Only knowing. Complete, perfect, devastating knowing. And in that knowing, I finally felt safe. Because to be truly known is to be finally found. He did not speak in sentences. He spoke in silence. And yet that silence thundered with memory. I stood before him, as he held my entire life in his gaze. Not just the actions, but the intentions, the motives behind the masks, the whispers behind the deeds. Every moment came alive around me, not like a film, like a judgment that breathes. I saw the child I was, afraid to pray aloud, but secretly asking him if he saw me. I saw the man I became, hard, disciplined, composed, yet hollowed by grief I never named. I saw every choice I made when no one was watching, and still, he did not turn away. He called my name in the dark, and he never stopped calling it. I fell to my knees, not because he demanded it, but because my soul remembered its rightful posture. And in that kneeling, I was not humiliated. I was restored. He leaned close, and though he never moved, I felt him closer than my own breath. And then, without warning, he placed something into me. I don't know what to call it. A wordless command, a sacred burden, a seal made of light. It entered me like oil and flame, and I knew I had been given something I could never bury. You were brought here for a reason. The words didn't echo in my ears. They exploded in my bones. You were brought here to remember, to return, to speak, to warn. Not because you are worthy, but because you are willing. And in that moment, I realized that dying was not the end. It was an invitation to carry what others were too distracted to receive, to be branded by a message that would burn me every day I stayed silent. He called my name in the dark, and now he gave me a fire to carry back into the night. I wanted to stay. Every part of me wanted to remain in that breathless holiness, but the weight inside me said otherwise. The burden had been fastened to my spirit, and I knew I would return, not because I chose to, but because I had to. This was not a suggestion. This was a commission. I was anointed, not with oil, but with agony, with truth, with vision. And I knew that from this point forward, my life would never again belong to me. He called my name in the dark, and I answered, not with words, but with surrender. And then, the light began to dim, not because he left, but because I was being sent back to a world that would not understand, to a people who would not listen, to a church that had grown cold in comfort, to a generation choking on noise, but starving for truth. He called my name in the dark, and now, I must call yours. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. The light receded, but the burden did not. The presence lifted, but the fire remained, sealed inside me. I was no longer in that place of brilliance, but I carried its weight like sacred ink upon my soul. And then the visions began. Not visions like dreams. No drifting clouds or metaphors. These were unveilings, the tearing back of the world's thin veil, so I could see what most refused to see, because if they saw it, they would never sleep again. He called my name in the dark, and then he showed me what is coming. I saw 2025, not as a date, but as a wound in time, gaping, raw, and unraveling. A convergence, a season where the world will no longer be able to pretend, where the illusions we baptized as normal will shatter like glass beneath judgment. He showed me the churches. Oh God, the churches, so many of them still bearing his name, but no longer bearing his presence. Pulpits filled with charisma, but not with truth. Worship without weight, altars without fire, lights and sounds and crowds, but no holiness, no hunger, no repentance. They sang of glory while silencing conviction. They entertained souls but did not heal them. They avoided the narrow road, because the broad one paid better. And he wept. He called my name in the dark, and showed me the hollow places where his name had once dwelled in power. I saw preachers wearing robes of pride, speaking his words but twisting their shape, feeding the people sugar when they needed salt and flame. And the people, they clapped, they laughed, they slept. I saw a nation feasting on comfort, while the heavens roared warnings. Then I saw the systems, those sacred cows we have worshipped in our modern temples, economies we trust more than the spirit, digital altars where we kneel, scroll, obey, I saw algorithms disguised as oracles, currency collapsing like sandcastles in a flood, governments trembling beneath the weight of their own lies. Everything that can be shaken will be, and it will not come softly. He called my name in the dark, and now I must call yours. There is a shaking coming, not just of nations, but of selves, of homes, of relationships, of idols. Every hidden thing will be brought into the light. Every lukewarm heart will be tested by fire. Every foundation not built on him will collapse. I saw digital systems fail, power grids flickering like dying stars, data wiped in moments, voices silenced, and confusion spreading like wildfire through cities that once called themselves invincible. I saw people crying out, not to God, but to systems that could no longer save them. And then, the remnant, scattered, small, unnoticed by the world, but glowing with something that could not be digitized or destroyed. These were the ones who had returned to the fire, the ones who chose oil over comfort, consecration over convenience, truth over trend. They were poor by the world's measure, but rich in flame. They had nothing, and yet lacked nothing. And he whispered into my spirit, a great shaking is permitted for the world to be restored, not out of wrath, but out of mercy, because he will not allow us to destroy ourselves quietly. He must interrupt our idolatry. He must disrupt our distraction. He must burn away what is false, to reveal what is true. He called my name in the dark, and now I see why. Because 2025 is not just another year. It is a threshold, a crossroads, a furnace, and only those who return to the fire will walk through it without losing their soul. The fire is not the enemy. The fire is the purifier, the revealer, the voice crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord. This is not fear-mongering. This is faith awakening. Not doom, but decision. He called my name in the dark, and if you are still listening, it means he's calling yours too. The question is, will you answer, or will you sleep through the shaking? Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. After the shaking, there was silence, but not the silence of emptiness. This was the silence that comes just before resurrection. A holy stillness that stretches across the earth like breath held in heaven's lungs. And in that stillness, he showed me what would follow. He called my name in the dark, and now he showed me the dawn. The world will not end in chaos. It will awaken in fire. I saw them rising. Not kings, not influencers, not the ones crowned by culture, but the forgotten, the hidden, the low. Children with eyes that burned like oil lamps, speaking with the thunder of ancient prophets. Mothers who had been silenced in church pews, now singing prayers that split open cities. Men who once slept under bridges, now walking with staffs of light and mouths full of truth. They did not rise from pulpits. They rose from ashes. He called my name in the dark, and now I saw the ones he had marked in secret. They bore no titles, but they carried the scent of the altar. They had no credentials, but their shadows cast healing. They had wept when no one watched, fasted when no one noticed, loved when it cost them everything. And now he was calling them forth. The first shall be last. The last shall be fire. They rose in every nation, every tongue, every hidden cave of the world. I saw small gatherings in jungles, underground sanctuaries in cities, old barns turned into holy houses, and living rooms where heaven split open like scrolls. They were tribes, not of blood, but of burden, not of culture, but of covenant. These were the prophetic ones, the wild-eyed intercessors, the nameless ones who refused to bow. They didn't seek platforms. They were platforms, altars walking on feet of clay and hearts of flame. They came singing songs no one had taught them, songs birthed in dreams and wildernesses, echoes of Eden rising from exiles. They had no weapons, but they carried authority. They had no megaphones, but when they whispered, demons fled. Their power wasn't noise, it was weight. And everywhere they went, something awakened. I saw villages weeping under open skies. I saw streets flooded with barefoot repentance. I saw children laying hands on governors, and widows preaching resurrection in the middle of war zones. And through it all, one refrain moved like a river. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. They were not here to build empires. They were here to restore altars. to rebuild the ruins with their tears, to call down glory with their hunger. And in their midst, I saw the ancient paths rise again. The narrow way, the way of holiness, the way of fasting, praying, trembling. The old road that had been buried beneath convenience and compromise. It rose like a highway through the wilderness, lit not by street lamps, but by the faces of the faithful. And I knew this was not revival. This was reclamation. This was not a season. This was a return. He called my name in the dark, and now he was calling theirs. And through their obedience, the bride was awakening, not the institutional church, but the holy remnant, the wounded worshipers, the watchmen, the wild ones. They had been hidden for such a time as this, and now they were rising, not with swords, but with songs, not with pride, but with purity. And they marched, not toward platforms, but toward people. Everywhere they stepped, the veil tore a little more, the chains loosened, the heavens opened, because they carried one thing: glory, not for show, not for fame, but for the restoration of all things. He called my name in the dark, and now he calls yours. You who are watching, you who feel the trembling, you who know you were born for more. You are not too late. You are not too lost. You are not too broken. The army he's building is not made of perfection. It's made of surrender. And all he's looking for is your yes. The shaking has come. The fire is falling. And the awakening has begun. Now rise. Take your place. The ancient paths are waiting. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling above me was not made of light. It was dull, flickering, sterile. A hospital lamp buzzed like a broken prayer. My chest was wrapped in gauze. Machines hummed around me like metal witnesses. And the scent, not incense, not eternity, but bleach. I was back, but I was not the same. My body had returned to earth, but my soul, it still trembled in the shadow of heaven. There are no words for what it feels like to wake up in a world you no longer belong to be given breath again, and realize the air feels thinner now, like it can't carry the weight of what you carry inside. I tried to sit up, every movement a reminder that this flesh is too small for what was given to me, too fragile to house fire. But I had made a vow, and fire honors vows. He called my name in the dark, and now I had to speak, even if the world wasn't ready to listen. The nurses whispered when I passed. One doctor said I should have died. Another said it was a miracle. They wrote words like trauma and hallucination in their reports, trying to explain the light behind my eyes as something chemical. They couldn't see the mark, but hell could. The attacks didn't wait. First the dreams, dark rooms, eyes watching, whispers in tongues I didn't understand, but somehow still feared. Then the electronics. Every time I opened my mouth to share what I saw, my phone would freeze, calls would drop, recordings would corrupt, emails disappeared, messages unsent. Once my laptop shut off completely. As I typed the words, he showed me. Another time my hospital room filled with smoke for no reason. No fire, no cause, just the thick scent of warning. They don't want this truth to spread. He called my name in the dark, and now the darkness was watching me too. Friends I trusted began to withdraw. Family called me strange. They said I was different, intense, unwell. They wanted the old me, but the old me died on a hillside in Israel. The new me had seen too much to stay silent. I tried to speak gently. I tried to make it easy to hear. But no matter how soft my tone, truth still cuts, and truth is unwelcome. In a world built on illusion, I felt alone, not just physically, spiritually. I would wake in the middle of the night and feel eyes on me that I couldn't see. I'd sense a presence hovering just beyond the edges of the room. Not holy, not kind, just angry. It hated what I had seen. It hated what I carried. It wanted me quiet. And some nights, I almost obeyed, because silence is safer, comfortable, forgettable. But I didn't come back to be safe. I came back because I was chosen to remember. Because somewhere, there's someone like you who needs to know that what you feel stirring inside you is not madness. It's the beginning of awakening. And if I stay silent, that person may never rise. He called my name in the dark, and I must obey, even if they laugh, even if they turn away, Even if I am branded delusional, mocked, deleted, forgotten, I must speak, because this burden isn't mine to carry in silence. Every time I try to retreat, every time I question if this was just a dream, the fire within me flares up again, hot, holy, unrelenting, because truth doesn't forget you, and heaven doesn't release its messengers, just because earth doesn't recognize them. So I walk carefully, quietly, but I walk forward, and with every step, I whisper the same refrain: return to the fire, return to the fire, return to the fire. The war is not over. It has only begun, and the battlefield now is truth. They don't want this truth to spread, but it is already too late, because I am not the only one. The remnant is stirring, the sealed are awakening, and we will not be silent, not anymore. Hear me now, not with your ears, but with your spirit, because this is not a sermon, this is not a theory, this is a summons. I have held back as long as I could, but the fire will not let me rest. It wakes me in the hours before dawn, whispers behind my ribs like thunder too patient to roar. I was shown what is coming, and it is not symbolic. It is not poetic. It is real. The year 2025 is not just a number on a calendar. It is a threshold, a door opening to judgment and mercy at once, a tearing, a dividing. The line is being drawn, and this world that has dressed itself in illusion, will be unclothed. He called my name in the dark, and now I call yours, because what I saw was not for me to carry alone. And if you are still listening, still breathing, still trembling under the weight of these words, then you were chosen to hear this. Chosen, not because you're perfect, not because you're strong, but because your heart still burns when truth knocks. The storm is not coming, it has begun, but it won't always look like thunder and fire. Sometimes it will look like silence, like famine of the word, like counterfeit peace. It will lull the world into sleep, just before the sky cracks open. And when it does, only the rooted will stand. Only those who return to the fire will recognize the sound of the trumpet. You cannot afford to delay. You cannot afford to keep playing church while the clock collapses. There are decisions you must make now, sacrifices you must offer now, altars you must rebuild now, because when the wave hits, there will be no time to prepare, only time to endure, and endurance belongs to the sealed. You must repent, not just for what you've done, but for who you've become in your comfort. You must fast, because the noise is too loud and only hunger clears the soul. You must forgive, because bitterness is a gate for destruction, and it will not be permitted on holy ground. You must awaken, because your dreams are no longer yours. They are messages, blueprints, battles. You must begin to pray again, not casually, not politely, but like one who has seen the veil torn, like one who remembers that God still answers the cries of those who kneel in the secret place. And above all, you must keep speaking, even if your voice trembles, even if they mock you, even if your own family cannot understand, because the silence of the saints is the lullaby of the serpent. Keep speaking. Return to the fire. The time is now. He called my name in the dark, and it wasn't to flatter me. It was to warn me, to mark me, to send me, and now I have spoken. But this is not just my story. It is yours. If you're still here, still holding on, still feeling that sacred unrest, it means the fire has found you too. Now rise, tear down your idols, open the scriptures, wake up your household, break the silence, return to the ancient path. The storm will separate, but it will also reveal. And when the dust settles, only truth will remain. You were chosen to hear this. Now choose to live like it. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. I crossed over, and I came back. Not to impress you, not to sell you a fantasy, but to warn you, to deliver what I saw like a sealed scroll pressed into shaking hands, to obey the fire that marked my soul with eyes that see past veils, to speak now while there is still time to listen. This is not a metaphor. I did not see symbols. I saw futures, unfolding like wounds, and mercy running like blood between the cracks. He called my name in the dark, and I cannot forget that voice, even now, when the world spins forward, as though it is not dangling over prophecy, as though silence is safer than repentance, as though everything is still fine. But it is not fine. The spirit is grieving. The earth is groaning, and the time of pretending is over. This isn't just my story. It's yours. If you've ever woken in the night with a weight you couldn't name, if you've ever felt like you didn't fit in the world anymore, if you've been weeping without knowing why, then you've already been called. You've already been marked. And now you've been told. You cannot unhear this. You cannot unsee what your spirit saw while your mind slept. Because heaven is gathering its remnant, and the names are being whispered, one by one, in rooms where the curtains move without wind. He called my name in the dark, and the fire that entered me then is burning through these words now. Can you feel it? That tightening in your chest, that holy ache? It is not fear. It is recognition. You were born for more than this world. You were not made to scroll endlessly while the trumpet is sounding. You were made to rise, to burn, to return. The warnings have not stopped. They echo across the sky like thunder in slow motion. They are in the weather, in the wars, in the silence before another shaking begins. But will you listen? Will you rise? Or will you remain asleep, cradled by comfort, while eternity knocks on your door with blood-stained hands? I saw what's coming. I saw the light and the terror, the glory and the grief, and I was sent to say this: return to the fire, return to the Gospels, return to Christ, return to the altar where you left your first love. Turn off the noise, shut down the distraction, and let your knees find the ground before the ground is taken from under you, because what is coming is real, and what you carry must be kindled now. You are not too late, but you are out of time. Return to the fire, return to the fire, return to the fire. This is NDE Tales HQ, and if you're still listening, it means you were meant to hear this. It means the fire has found you too, and it will not let you go.